I'm not sure if I'm dragging Pauline away from Canberra's midwinter ball that's on tonight or from the start of State of Origin at Suncorp, or both. We'll find out. One thing I do want to ask Pauline about, though, is the new place we find ourselves in with the lead up to this voice referendum. You've heard about it all day long. Now, laughingly, the Indigenous Australians Minister, Linda Burney, who quite frankly is making a hash of this whole process, she said on Monday, now that the enabling legislation had gone through both houses, through the Senate, that we could take the politics out of it. Now, surely Minister Burney was having a lend of us. And sure enough, not 24 hours later, the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, was asked a Dorothy Dixon question time today around, guess what? The politics of the referendum. Now, let me be clear here. The normal occupant of this chair is and has been a long-time supporter of the yes vote, as is his right, and Chris Kenny brings great life experience to that decision, and good on him. I, however, intend to vote no, unless I can be convinced with facts, not emotion. I'll explain my reasons in a sec. But my observation of the Prime Minister, including in his answer to Parliament today, is I reckon that he's getting increasingly desperate in his defence of the voice. Now, gone is his go with the vibe idea where this all started, to sort of leave the masses with as little information as possible and we can sneak this thing through. Have a listen to his description, the Prime Minister's description today, of the No campaign as being fearmongers, and listen to the edge in the PM's voice.
Because Australians value fairness above politics. Australians value solutions above games, and Australians have the sense to look past the fear-mongering of some. I urge people to look at the words that are being put forward that make it clear the primacy of the Parliament. I urge people to have a look at the second reading speech of the Attorney-General that has legal consequences, speaking about matters that affect Indigenous Australians differently. I say to all Australians, Parliament's passed laws, but it's people that make history, and we have an opportunity to advance reconciliation in the last quarter of this year. I sincerely hope and call for Australians to vote yes.
I reckon he's becoming desperate. Now, that speech came after a number of questions to Minister Burney about the idea that the Voice panel or assembly, or whatever it ends up being known as, could argue for a change to the date of Australia Day from January 26 because of its connection to colonisation. Now, seriously, does Linda Burney really believe that, because I'm not sure many Australians do, I'd reckon that January 26 is going to be very high on the agenda if the Voice gets up? You only need to look at the Indigenous protests that happen now on Australia Day to work that out. Now, my reason for leaning to no is simple. I believe, like Canada and like New Zealand, the Voice will only be the beginning. Like those two countries, what comes next are treaty and compensation. If that's what we want, and if that's what we're talking about, I've got no problem having that debate. What I have a problem with is being conned that it's not about that. Give Australians the full picture and let us decide the whole package, because to not do that will divide Australia, I think, forever.